what would actually happen if you woke up tomorrow and found out that every single country in the NATO alliance had declared war on the United States? But here is the massive twist. The entire US military, the government, and every single nuclear weapon have been completely erased from the board. The only thing standing between an invading super army and total occupation are everyday American civilians who legally own firearms. Sounds like a complete mismatch, right? On paper, the invaders are bringing an unstoppable machine. We are talking about over 2 million active duty soldiers. You have Germany pumping out elite Leopard 2 tanks, Poland rolling in with a massive new fleet of South Korean K2s, and Turkey bringing the exact same advanced combat drones that have been turning armored vehicles into scrap metal in recent modern conflicts. Add in the aircraft carriers from France and the UK, and it looks like a flawless victory for Europe. They have the training, the tech, and the numbers. It feels like this civilian resistance would be absolutely flattened before the weekend is over. But wars aren't just won by having the biggest guns, they are won by logistics, and this is exactly where NATO's grand strategy hits a massive brick wall. The harsh reality of this alliance is that they rely almost entirely on American heavy lifters, like C-17 Globemasters and US naval ships, to move their armies across the globe. Take the US out of the equation, and suddenly, the vast majority of Europe's air force is completely grounded at home. Fighter jets like the Typhoon simply do not have the fuel capacity to cross the Atlantic Ocean without American refueling support. Because they can't just fly over or magically teleport, the invading force is forced into a massive bottleneck. They have to use Canada. With a 5,500-mile shared border, Canada becomes the only logical staging ground. But moving armies takes time. Instead of a cinematic D-Day scenario with millions of troops storming the beaches, they are stuck trickling in maybe 100,000 to 150,000 soldiers in the first wave, coordinating 31 different militaries with different languages and rules of engagement through limited Canadian ports is an absolute logistical nightmare. And waiting for them just south of that Canadian border is a completely entirely different kind of monster. The US has upwards of 100 million civilian gun owners. If even a tiny fraction of them decide to defend their homes, their numbers instantly crush NATO's initial ground force. Keep in mind, this isn't just a bunch of rookies. There are roughly 18 million military veterans in the country, and nearly half of them are heavily armed. That's millions of people who already know how to run squad tactics, handle extreme stress, and communicate effectively under fire. Because there is no single general or Pentagon running the show, the defense organizes organically through local hunting clubs and veteran networks. NATO can't win by cutting off the head of the snake because there are thousands of heads. Furthermore, the invasion has to push through states like Alaska, Montana, and Wyoming. These areas boast extreme sub-zero weather that freezes engine blocks, combined with the highest gun ownership rates in the country, sitting comfortably around 65%. The invaders are stepping straight into a frozen meat grinder. When the actual boots hit the ground, the civilians know better than to fight NATO tanks in wide open fields. Instead, they will drag the invaders into the mud. They will force every mechanized convoy to funnel through narrow mountain passes, dense tree lines, and tight highway choke points. Just like we have seen in modern conflicts like Ukraine, cheap commercial drones, flown by everyday hobbyists, become lethal scouting tools to track enemy movement. The firepower hiding in American closets is staggering. Billions of rounds of ammo, thermal optics, and heavy .50 caliber rifles that can punch through light armor from well over a mile away. You would see insane redneck engineering, with everyday pickup trucks transformed into deadly technical vehicles using welded steel plates. All it takes is one patient sniper in the woods to take out a crucial fuel truck, completely paralyzing an entire armored column for days. Between the impossible supply lines across the ocean and a heavily armed decentralized local resistance, NATO would slowly bleed out. I'd give the civilian defenders a solid 65% chance of crushing the invasion. If you enjoyed this wild scenario, make sure to hit subscribe, drop a comment with your own theories, and stick around for more.